Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Gina Carlson on the line, and she's founder and executive director over at One DEI Company. Gina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks so much for having me. I'm pleased to be here today.
So I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at One DEI Company. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career in business?
Okay, well, I grew up in Southern California, and I'd say I've had a pretty varied background. I started college young, went to Pitzer College, one of the Claremont colleges, and the University of Laverne. So my undergraduate degree is actually in television, and so I worked from the bottom up, working all the way into a line producer position where you're responsible for hiring and managing budgets and things of that nature. So I've worked for MTV, Discovery Channel, to Disney Channel, and after that I went back to school, or while I was working I went back to school and got my master's in leadership and management. And so I used the skills from what I learned there, transferred that working in television. And then eventually I decided to have a family and segued into teaching, where I've been working as an adjunct professor, a trainer for over 10 years, teaching in the business field in a community college, as well as teaching educational pedagogy and training to grad students, principals, and teachers. And so during that time, I went back to school again and got a second master's degree in education and finishing up a PhD in education. And so just through these experiences, I just had a continued passion for focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion missions within organizations. And so through my undergraduate research and master's degree research in those areas, I just still feel compelled to work in that field. And so that's how I came to the conclusion that I really needed to create an organization that would benefit from having an educated workforce that realizes the importance of equitable environments for their employees and their clients.
That's awesome. And so I love your background, by the way. I mean, from TV to training to diversity, I mean, you cover quite a spectrum, and obviously you kept going back to school and getting more skills and sharpening your saw, so to speak, and just kind of building on your skill set. I love it. It's a great progression in career to what you're doing now at One DEI Company. That being said, there's some younger entrepreneurs or, people just graduating college, and, we all learn from the ups, the downs, the sideways, the pivots in life and in career. What kind of advice would you give to that newbie that's really just getting out of college and getting in the workforce on getting started on their path?
Well, I think there are so many things, and I think doing what makes you feel great and what you're passionate about is really important. And I think that's when you find that you're happy and healthy in your career. And I think you can't give up, especially if you believe in your heart that you're an entrepreneur. I think you have to stick to that, even though there are ups and downs being an entrepreneur. Just being around supportive people and just nurturing that entrepreneurial spirit, as well as, the cliche saying of work smarter, not harder per se, I think is really also important to keep in mind about, am I doing things that are continuously moving me toward my goals?
That's awesome. So one step at a time. I like it.
Yep.
Gina, let's switch it up a bit. I want to get, you hinted and you touched on it a bit, but I want to go further. So tell us a little bit more about One DEI Company, please.
Okay. So One DEI, I kind of like to think of this as an innovative think tank with specialization in training and development in terms of how we educate minds in the 21st century. And so my business not only focuses on educational organizations, but business organizations as well. And so we really want to look at quantitative and qualitative research-based evidence that drives the core values of an organization. But we provide training and support for the organization's staff, their administrators, their leaders. We create, hopefully, original research for organizations to make those data-driven decisions. And so, not just the field of education is not just the only place to look at how diversity missions and platforms work, but it's also for businesses. And so we hope that our services are designed to transform organizations with meaningful training and development programs while we're creating transformative leaders, really, who can maintain a diverse, well-trained, and engaged staff with, efficiency, especially with revenues, and just a positive work environment that is culturally aware and proficient and just creating leaders.
Can you talk a little bit more about the potential for revenue when having a diverse workforce? Because I think the data points to, and it depends on the industry and of course the company and other things, but once upon a time the idea of having a diverse workforce, in my knowledge, was just because it was the right thing to do. Now with more data and the more things that are happening, like things like financial institutions and other things, are seeing that by having a well-rounded, diverse workforce, they're tapping into other business lines and other things that are making it also make sense for their bottom line overall. Could you talk a little bit more about kind of that and the trends and data overall that you're seeing just in general?
Right. So I feel not just I feel, but as you stated, based on research, having diverse perspectives, especially, let's say we want to focus on even what does the diversity look like in our organization, whether that's from gender, ethnicity, age, LGBTQ+, these groups and more, right? Because there are so many combinations of intersecting identities, can contribute ideas, perspectives that we're not always thinking about. And when those come together, can really give us great ideas, strategies to move a business forward. And when we're actively and intentionally nurturing these individuals and their ideas, revenues are limitless because of the ideas that we can create and build great companies and maybe move in directions we weren't really thinking about when we really put a lot of diverse perspectives together. So, and I think just in general, especially in the diversity, equity, and inclusion world, I do think that we're seeing a variety of different trends. I'm reading even just about hiring practices being more open to finding candidates that may have non-traditional credentials. So, for example, if it's an environment that is more STEM, perhaps it's someone who they may not have a degree in STEM, but their skill set and their work background might lend itself well in that STEM environment. So being open-minded are some of the trends I think that I'm seeing, using even AI technology to avoid unconscious bias when screening resumes and things of that nature. Really using data to make decisions, especially when we have diversity initiatives and things of that nature, and really see how are things working for us from that quantitative data perspective.
That's awesome. And could you go a little bit further maybe on what you're noticing just in technology? Because that's huge. I didn't, what you just said in terms of using AI to screen resumes, things like that. Any other kind of little tidbits you got on that? Because you have a really unique vantage point based on your background overall, but then how long you've been in the space.
Right. I think the one of the bigger things with AI, for example, is even when we think about names, age, right, other demographics that could actually ultimately eliminate people unconsciously. So then when you are looking to fill various jobs, you're not maybe getting a diverse group of people. So it also lends itself that we have technology, which is great, but we still have to have that human interaction to also still help us sift through certain aspects. So if once we get those resumes, for example, we need to make sure, right, that we're not just getting maybe groups from certain places. So it's being more aware, I think, along with that technology, that we still have to have some human interaction with that technology, and also awareness. So it comes along with even just organizational education of making sure people are aware of even something which sounds so simple of, oh, we have this technology that's helping us screen these applicants, but is it equitable, right? Who is being served by this? Are we creating the workspace that we want if we're being intentional about inclusivity?
That's awesome. So, Gina, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on One DEI Company, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I would definitely say head to our website, give us a phone call, send us an inquiry if someone wanted to get more information. We also really do equity audits to really help organizations take a look at the structure of their companies. So that using technology would be a great way to reach out to us. You can also find us on Twitter.
And what's the website?
It's One DEI Company, so ONEDEI Company.com.
And the Twitter handle?
It is a One DEI Company.
Perfect. Well, hey, Gina, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at One DEI Company. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. Share this with your friends, your family, coworkers. Do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Gina, thank you again for coming on.